Remember a few weeks ago when I made this desk and I said,
whoever said shop furniture can't also look cool?
Well, today I am saying just that, and I am building this pretty boring lumber rack. So I think I realized I don't necessarily dislike shop projects, I just dislike spending any amount of time on shop projects. And I realized this while working on this lumber storage area. Making stuff for my shop just kind of feels like a delay to building the things that I really want to build. So unless I start storing lumber in my living room, this is a piece of furniture that I want to spend the least amount of time on. Alright, with that being said, I thought it would still make for a fun video to show the process of making something quickly and something that's completely utilitarian. So let's just get into it. As usual, I started out with a sketch, and this was my first time using my new desk and horizon line, and I really think my drawing skills have improved because of it. I then modeled it in Fusion 360 to get an idea about all the dimensions, and I could tweak little things until the whole thing made sense. So, once I had a design I was happy with,
no matter what happens tomorrow, or for the rest of my life, I'm happy now.
I bought a couple sheets of cheap plywood and started cutting it up. The nice part about 3D modeling something like this is that I know exactly what parts I need from each sheet of plywood. So I could pretty much cut up all my parts beforehand, then go straight into assembling. And I try to do as much of it as I can with my table saw, but there's always a few cuts where the track saw is the best tool. So once I had all the parts cut out, I could focus on cutting the dados for the scrap organization area. And I did this with the drill bit technique to get really accurate dados. I did a video on this technique a while back, so I'll put a link to that in the description. But I needed to cut 4 dados on each vertical side of the cabinet and 2 dados on the top and bottom of each horizontal piece. Right about this point in the build, I decided that I had spent enough time on this already, and it was time to just get the thing done. Keep in mind, I made this decision after maybe 2 or 3 hours of working on it. That's how little patience I have for shop projects. But with all my dados cut, I could start assembling the cabinet, and I just slapped it together with glue and screws. With the outer cabinet assembled, I could install all the dividers for the scrap organizer, and that went together pretty easily. The only thing I forgot to do was cut the dado in the very top of the cabinet, so that top divider had to be screwed in from above. I then whipped up a little platform and moved the cabinet into place. Once that was in place, I could get to work on the vertical lumber rack dividers, and I decided to go with sections that were about 12 inches wide, as I very rarely have lumber that is wider than that. I also decided to round the corners of the dividers purely for aesthetic reasons, and don't ask me why I was willing to spend time on this part after just having gone on and on about how I don't like to spend time on shop projects. I think this might be where I started to get near the end of the build and I wanted to maybe make it look nice again. I don't know.
You're crazy. I like you, but you're crazy.
So with those in place, I could actually start organizing my lumber. Now, the last thing to do was the cabinet door, and again, because it was one of the last things to do, I kind of thought maybe I should do something a little bit interesting here. It's just such a tall, plain door that I felt like it needed something. And Greg has just kind of been chilling lately, so I figured he could use something to do. So I decided to cut a picture of the Transamerica Pyramid into the cabinet door front. Kind of random, but there are a couple reasons. One, it is one of my favorite pieces of architecture, so I thought maybe it'll give me some inspiration when I hit some of those creative blocks. And B, it represents my time before furniture when I was just a cog in the corporate machine.
You see, we're putting the cover sheets on all TPS reports now before they go out.
So maybe it'll provide some inspiration to keep pushing forward. Also, Greg appreciates good architecture, so I think he was into it, even though he's from Chicago. once again, I'm cutting something that is longer than my CNC bed. So I marked an arbitrary but specific distance up the cabinet door, which I then covered up above that in easel. And once Greg had cut the bottom portion of the image, I then shifted the cabinet door down to that mark on the machine, as well as shifted the image in easel the same amount. Hopefully that makes sense. It actually worked pretty well, and there was just a little strip that didn't get cut that I could easily chisel out, and I'm almost positive this was because of user error. Jonathan Katz-Moses actually made a video pretty recently about doing this technique, but much more accurately. So I'll leave a link to his video in the description. Go check it out if you're interested. I also probably should have used a downcut router bit, as I got quite a bit of tear out in the veneer. But I decided to run it through the drum sander, which I would never do with plywood. But I actually liked the effect I got from partially sanding through the first layer of veneer. It almost looks like fog or something, which is kind of fitting for San Francisco. I think I'm just gonna tell everyone that was my plan all along. And the last step for the cabinet door was to cut some bevels along the edges. And I did this because we all know, say it with me now, the bevel is in the details. Finally, I can mount the door to the cabinet, and as usual for me, I had to steal some hinges for myself because I didn't buy any in time. And with that, the lumber storage area was pretty much done. I'm gonna add some shelves into the cabinet once I figure out what I'm gonna store in there, but other than that, I am happy with it. I think I might have found my perfect balance for shop projects where I make it quickly, but add just that little custom touch to make it kind of cool. I don't know, but let me know what you think. And since I modeled this in Fusion, I have all the dimensions available for a few bucks on my website. If you feel like something like this would work in your shop, check it out along with all my other furniture plans. All right, that's it for now. I really hope you enjoyed this one. As always, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Links to everything I talked about in this video are in the description. And until next time, this one's short and easy to remember. Shop projects are just fine if you've got the time.